I would, I didn't. I saw the DAZN fight.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Enter the Ring Live for Sunday, May the 30th, 2021. What's up, guys? I don't know. It felt like we had a little bit of an echo going on during the intro. Did you guys hear that?
It was at you know what it was? I had another window open, and when it went live, it started playing on that one. I should have muted it.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, one day, bro, I promise you, I will get this right.
AJ, you know what, though? You do so much more that is right, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, brother.
Hey,
you're amazing,
dude. It is what it is.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Sunday. We had a great weekend of fights. What's up? How you guys doing?
It was a great week.
It's a great weekend away. Yeah, been a little melancholy this week. You know, as you know, my beautiful daughter Mika, she graduated from Bishop Amont High School. You know, we are Mosley.
Yeah, dude,
it's kind of surreal. You know,
dude. So proud of her. You still need to tell me what she wants, though, brother.
I know, but you know, real quick before we get going, I know Eric, you were talking about something earlier. I'm not going to bring that up, but it kind of puts things in perspective. Sometimes you look at it and you look how fast life is, and you look at the things that you have, the blessings that you've been granted. And I think too many people worry about what they haven't accomplished in life and their shortcomings, and don't look at what they have accomplished and what the future holds. I go, and I look at it myself. I go, just like us, we all have beautiful wives that are supportive, beautiful children that we're so proud of. And I have two of the most amazing brothers that, in the name of Within the Sky's new single, I'm in awe of. I really am, man.
Thanks, brother. Yeah. Ditto. Hey, likewise.
I'm not the musician guy like you guys, but you know what?
You are. You just don't choose to do it.
Country. I'm the singer. Remember? No, just kidding.
so Mike, we had a big weekend of boxing, man.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it turned out to be. It's one of those weekends where maybe it flew a little bit under the radar in terms of, you know, the buildup and the hype, but there were no doubt they were great fights this weekend. They were really good fights. I mean, especially the fight card in Carson turned out to be a great. I mean, it wasn't just the main event, Donaire. It was the fights leading up to it. It was a good card.
Yeah,
it was a good card. I was, you know, I had a lot of graduation parties and stuff going on, but God, that's a card I wish I would have been able to get to.
I'll tell you. There's something about Carson, bro. And what I mean by it, you go back to some of the great fights that have been fought there in Carson. And the thing is, it's like, it continues to happen. Once again, in the co-main event that we had in the fight against Sabril Matias and Brazion Jemenbayev.
Yeah, how do you say that last name? I couldn't catch his last name.
Jukinbayev?
Jukinbayev, yeah.
Another classic Carson matchup, bro.
A war, yeah.
Gosh. So I watched the Donaire fight, and I watched the very first fight on that card. That's all I could get a chance to between, you know, working and business and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So I didn't get a chance to watch the co-main. So I'm going to go back and actually have to watch that.
Oh, man, what a fight.
Great fight.
Yeah, I watched
both guys hurt. Both guys wobbled multiple times.
Wow.
It ended up being stopped. What round was it? Where I think
it was stopped in the 8th round by the referee. Jukinbayev had been down, and but I got to give it to the kid from Kazakhstan. He really came to fight. I know he was kind of the hype, the favorite coming in. It was his first fight here in the States, but he comes from that fabric that created such greats like Gennady Golovkin and others and stuff. And there was high hopes. And don't think that it's the book's closed on him. But I think Matias is just showing. He showed me something in this fight, even though he tends to be a little unorthodox and he got rocked a few times. This guy has these piston powerful punches. The guy improved to 17-1 with 17 knockouts. His one loss was a controversial fight. There's a threat at 135 pounds with this guy.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, definitely. I mean, his recuperative powers are great. There was,
amazing.
He would hurt the Kazakh fighter, and then the other guy, and then the Kazakh fighter would fire back and hurt him. And both guys were. It was almost like watching a movie. It was, for as long as it lasted, it was a great fight. I would dare to say, the most evenly matched fight of the weekend, I think.
Absolutely.
Great matchmaking by TGB, Tom Brown, whoever put that fight together. It was really good.
Exactly. And I think Matias took this fight very personal, because in his lone loss that he had suffered against Pestos Anyanyan, I believe I'm saying that right, Anyanyan, which is a controversial loss in Las Vegas back in February of 2020. It was the same people that represented Jukinbayev. So this is an opportunity for him to kind of like, get himself a notch up again.
Well, a little bit of revenge too.
Yeah. And he's the kid's talented. He really is. He's somebody that's really being overlooked, and he's big for the weight. And
that was at 135, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. A lightweight division is shaping up to be something really, really good.
Yeah.
I got to tell you right now, honestly, these guys did not look 135 pounds. They did not look that weight. I mean, it was just.
Well, look at the Haney fight. They're at 135. Linares and Haney. Did you guys watch that fight?
Yeah, they didn't look as big as these kids.
Oh, no, they didn't look as big as these guys, though.
These kids look physically. Maybe it was a camera angle or what. I don't know.
I need to watch it.
They both came in. They're both fighting at the 140-pound division, but they both came in a little bit underweight for the fight itself. But they're 140. But there's two more guys now. I mean, even with Jukinbayev with the defeat, that are legitimate within the 140-pound. As much as people are talking about the lightweight division, the super lightweight division is just as hot, if not getting hotter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had the fight last week where Josh Taylor now sits alone atop the 140-pound division, but there's a lot of guys, and this is just another guy that puts himself in the mix.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the things, like you were saying, bro. The Matisse and his recuperative skills, but gotta take my hat off to Jukinbayev too. I mean, he was hurt severely. If you go back and look at that knockdown, I mean, it was pretty devastating.
The first knockdown, yeah.
And he got up, and the guy fought on to the bitter end. His face was a mess. Even at one stage, I think it was just towards the end of the 6th round, he got caught, and it looked like he was going down again. And he caught Matias and really wobbled him. And then just before the bell ring, Matias came back and threw this piston flurry that hurt him, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was just bad. I mean, both guys. Just when you think one guy's going to start taking control of the fight, the other guy just fires back. I'm going to go back and watch that fight again.
Hey, are those guys ranked? Because I'm looking at the rankings here, and I don't see them.
Well, based off of this victory, whoever's going to win was going to break into the top 10. So I guarantee the next time the rankings come around, one of them will be. I think even the loser, Jukinbayev, will get a ranking based on his performance. So
okay, because I was just trying to get some information on them, and I didn't. I need to watch that fight basically.
Mike, you've seen Matias fight before too.
Yeah,
you've seen him. I've seen him fight quite a few times. I saw him fight against Malik Hawkins. I've seen him fight against a few guys, and he's impressive.
Yeah,
kid out of Puerto Rico.
I recorded the whole thing, so I'll probably after this I'm gonna head over and watch all those fights because I can only watch one. I was watching the DAZN cards, and I guess they were basically going at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was watching the DAZN side. So
yeah. Talk about.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
I was gonna say. So the main event on that card, obviously.
Hey, real quick, before we get to the main event, can we talk about the fight that was just before the Matias fight and Gary Russell's brother, Gary Antoine Russell?
Oh yeah, the 147 pounder,
and his fight against Santiago. What was your impression of that?
I mean, that kid is good, man. I mean, he dismantled Santiago, who just had a tough fight with Who did he just have a tough fight with?
Adrian Broner. He lost
Adrian Broner, and a lot of people felt he might have, maybe squeaked it out, but that was was that fight at 140, 147, 140, 140. Okay.
140.
So
I just watched that one earlier today. So
there you go. There's another 140 pounder getting ready, on the cusp of maybe making a crack into the top 15, top 10. I mean, he's got the pedigree. I mean, his brother's an amazing fighter, albeit doesn't fight as frequently as we all like to see.
Yeah.
But Gary Russell is no joke. His lone loss coming to Lomachenko, a prime Lomachenko, when he was really just starting to establish himself. But Gary Russell, that whole family, man, they're talented fighters.
And I guess the dad kind of did the thing like what George Foreman did. He named all the sons.
Gary.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing that I was really impressed about with Gary Antoine Russell, and this is only about the third time I've seen him fight. He's improved so much, but he's a big kid for the division at 5'8". He's got punching power. He's obviously he's 14-0 now with 14 knockouts. Just beat a legitimate guy. I mean, this is a guy who's completely being overlooked. I mean, this is a guy, honestly, I can see this guy getting in there with guys like Regis Prograis. I can see this guy getting in there with a lot of people. He is a very talented young fighter at 24 years old and physically strong. I mean, you saw what he did against a big guy in Santiago. It was actually a natural welterweight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The one thing I think he did, I think it was in the fourth or fifth round. It looked like he started to gas a little. And then he got his second win.
He's never been past the fourth round.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, so that's something that the trainers are going to have to want to work with him, on that, because as he gets up in rankings and is, facing much harder opponents, he's going to have to, be able to go this 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 rounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
They really got to work on that with him, I think.
One of the things, I don't know if you saw this too, Mike. One of the things I really liked about how the guy threw his punches, Russell, was when he hurt Santiago, that pinpoint accuracy. It kind of reminded me of like what Lomachenko did. Just the patience at 24 years old. He's got a very high ringing IQ, but that's just a credit to the Russell.
I think he's 25.
What they do. He's actually 24. 24. I'm sorry.
Oh, he's turning 25. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see the kid. What I want to do is I want to obviously see more frequency out of the Russell family in general, because they're a very talented fighting family. And, they have to understand that, the window in boxing, your life is short. So you got to take advantage of it. Gary Russell, the older but smaller brother, is obviously already established himself as one of the best pound for pound fighters, even though he's not even in the top 10 anymore. I get it because of the frequency in which he fights. I get it, but he's still pound for pound. There's not many guys that can match him in skill. He's a very, very skilled fighter.
Yeah, it took a great fighter like Lomachenko and it took all of Lomachenko's tricks in order to beat him.
Yeah, and then in his fight against Jojo Diaz, he caught a prime, determined Jojo, and he just nullified and blunted most of Jojo's offense that fight. And I was rooting for Jojo in that fight, but I had to be honest and be real that Gary Russell just put on a clinic. He's fantastic.
No, he really is.
What does Gary Russell fight at? Is it?
He fights at
126.
Yeah,
126. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a guy that you got guys out there like Shakur Stevenson and others that are in that weight class right now and stuff talking. And I mean, they're gonna have to get past Gary Russell.
Okay, so here, hypothetical, I don't know if these two have even fought before, but Russell and Navarrete, what do you think happens there? That'd be a great fight.
Well, I mean, I think Navarrete's got one chance against Gary Russell, and that would be just to land a haymaker on him and slow him down, because Gary Russell's proven he can go the distance.
Yeah,
and at a very high level for all 12 rounds.
Well, so Russell's 31-1-0, and Navarrete's 33-1-0. That would be, I think.
It's a fight that, honestly, that's a great point, because it's a fight that nobody's ever talked about. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see Navarrete even positioning himself towards Gary Russell, because to me, Navarrete has yet to really position himself towards anybody that you could really consider a legitimate threat. He seems to always bypass the best in the division for some reason. Even though he's freakishly a big guy for the division, unorthodox, very strong, he doesn't seem like, everybody talks about this warrior mentality. Warrior mentality is getting with the best fighters. Getting with a guy like Gary Russell Jr. will put you in there with the best, and that would really truly test Navarrete and what skills he does possess.
Yeah, he really has been maneuvered pretty.
Very strategically.
Yeah, exactly, to get him to where he's at. Fighting always the smaller guys or guys that are coming off of losses, or guys that were coming off of hard fights. So yeah, I mean, he's a tough fighter. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not. He's tough, but I think he's very beatable. Against the elite, I think he's beatable.
That 126 is a vacant title right now, it looks like.
Yeah.
So,
but like I said, before we talk about the main event on Showtime, the thing about Navarrete too is that's why he's not talked about in any discussions when we talk about the pound for pound of the best of the division, because they know already kind of his MO and what he's going to do. you know, he's had some tough fights coming up. Even his fight against Devaka, even though he won it, you know, early, Devaka had successes when he kind of had his flashback and he stood toe to toe with him. You saw that even in Navarrete's fight against Soto and a few others, where, you know, he had issues and stuff when guys actually stood their ground and pushed him backwards. With a guy like Gary Russell Jr., who has such a high ring IQ, Gary Russell will fight from the outside. He won't allow himself to get hit, but he will mix it up inside. And that's where I think Navarrete is going to have his shortcomings.
Yeah, I think the speed will overwhelm Navarrete. Gary Russell's speed and fleet of foot. I mean, he'll overwhelm him. He'll like I said, he'll be chasing him all night, trying to land that one big punch. And we know what happens. That very rarely happens. You know, somebody's.
So where do you think Gary Russell's next fight should be?
I mean, anybody. He needs, but I do think he needs to fight maybe a unification fight or definitely a top 3 guy, because we have to see that he's not getting any younger. We have to see it.
And it's not Gary Russell. I mean, remember, I don't mean to take too much time on this because then we got a lot to talk about tonight, but it wasn't that long ago. Gary Russell talked about moving all the way up to the 140-pound division and taking on Bud Crawford. And he would have done it if the money was there and if Crawford's people were actually going to entertain it. So, I mean, Gary Russell, that tells you something. When he's talking about, I'm going to jump up all these divisions just to go take this guy on because I can't get fights in my division. Let's be honest. A lot of guys at that weight division are avoiding Gary Russell Jr. for the mere reason Gary Russell Jr. is Gary Russell Jr. You saw what he did to Jojo Diaz. You saw how competitive he was with Lomachenko. He's an amazing fighter.
Well,
what if he went up one division to the 130 and fought somebody like Tank or Diaz? You know, Gary's
not a real big guy. Do you agree, Mike? I mean, I think he's happy.
Well, he already fought Jojo. He already beat Jojo back at 126. He's not a real big guy, but the fight at 130 that might be interesting would be him and
Oscar Valdez.
Oscar Valdez.
Okay.
That would be a matchmaker's dream right there. That would just every boxing enthusiast, like I said, they know the name Oscar Valdez now based on his win over Burchell. A lot of people still don't know about Gary Russell, but that would be an amazing fight. I mean, that would be a real style matchup.
That'd be a pay-per-view dream.
Oh yeah, for true fight fans. So Mike, let's go ahead and let's move right into the main event that was over on Showtime.
Yeah, Nonito Donaire becomes the world champion once again. What are they saying? He's the oldest fighter to ever win the title in that division. One thing I will say, I kept seeing headlines since last night and all day today. Nonito Donaire shocks the boxing world. It's like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't
shock me at all.
No,
I pegged him to win that fight. And this is a guy. People slept on him prior to his fight with Inoue, and he almost pulled that one out. And age is just a number. The guy is very, very refreshed. He's very, very healthy. He's recharged. He took some time off. He had a stretch there where he wasn't fighting that often, probably partially due to COVID. But when people are saying he didn't shock anybody that knows anything about boxing. That's exactly what you expect out of Nonito Donaire. That power is the last thing to leave you.
And the only loss he had was against Inoue.
Well, he lost to Rigondeaux.
No, he's lost some fights, like I said, but it was when he made that jump.
The last fight one he lost was to
Inoue.
That guy's a monster. I mean,
but that was,
and you talk about a fight. That was an amazing fight. I mean, it could have literally gone either way. I think.
He did something nobody expected. I mean, he hurt Inoue, never dropped him, but he hurt him, cut him, broke his orbital bone, right eye socket, fractured his eye socket.
Yeah. Me and Mike actually got up and watched that fight early in the morning. I think it started like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And
hold on one second. So you're meaning to tell me that Inoue fought with a broken orbital bone?
Yeah, I know, Joe. I know you're going there. Leave Billy Joe Saunders alone, man. I like Billy Joe.
So, I like him too, but you know what? Come on, man up.
So getting back what we were talking about with Donaire and stuff, Donaire's biggest mistake was when he moved up to that super bantamweight division. For some reason, his body, even though he's a big guy, just didn't adequate to that thing. His losses to Carl Frampton and Jesse Magdaleno were losses that they weren't devastating losses, but once he dropped back and started getting some victories back, beating guys like Stefan Young, Ryan Burnett, he got himself back exactly where he needed to be at 118 pounds. That fight with Inoue was the last thing he needed to do. That's why when we were going into this fight against Oubaali, everybody was so high on Oubaali and basing their criticism against Donaire based on his age. I've said it before. Mike said before, that Filipino Flash, it doesn't matter. He's got that Manny Pacquiao thing going on. This is a guy who not even that long ago was heir apparent to Manny Pacquiao, and they were looking at the pound for pound #1. So everybody sleeps on him. I didn't think it was going to be a question. I just thought it was going to be a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and props to him. I mean, he feels rejuvenated. His post-fight comments. He feels like this is like the second coming. He feels like this is like a whole new start of his career. So, I mean, the 118 division, I mean, it's a good division. I think he needs to stay right there. And could we see maybe a rematch with Inoue?
We talked about that today, Mike. That would be amazing.
The other Filipino, right? Casamero, John Rio Casamero.
You know, he could
be a mega fight.
Yeah, he could end up being like almost like a Foreman, you know, fighting, you know, into his late 40s, early 50s. I mean, he's 41? Is that right? How old is he?
38.
38.
Are you? Oh, I thought he was older than that. I'm sorry. I thought he was 41. My bad.
No, I think he's 38 Donaire.
All right, I'm gonna check.
Either way, though, I mean, I think he's got a couple years left. I wouldn't. I mean, he could probably fight for a couple more years. It's a little bit harder when you're at those lighter weights because you still have to maintain your weight. You know, he obviously never balloons up in between fights. He's probably very dedicated. But
well, I think too, bro. What it does is it sets up a thing. Obviously, a rematch against Inoue would be amazing. But you got Rigondeaux up there, who Donaire
rematch
lost
with Rigondeaux.
Yeah,
very makeable fight.
Well, because the original fight was fought at the super bantamweight. Now they're back at bantamweight, where Rigondeaux, when he moved back down to bantamweight, I think even a matchup against his fellow countryman and Casamero is a possibility. But once again, I'm going to go with Donaire based on the fact of the experience and the sheer size. Casamero's 5'4", Donaire stands at 5'8". It's a different story. I mean,
yeah, and Casamero's fighting at 115, I believe, right?
No, he's fighting at bantamweight.
118, okay.
Yeah, 118.
That's a dream, right? Are they both managed by Sean Gibbons or no? Casamero is. Sean Gibbons is not. Yeah, Sean Gibbons doesn't manage him. He manages a lot of Filipino fighters out there. If you know Sean Gibbons, he runs Manny Pacquiao promotion as well. But he finds these Filipino fighters and brings them over, and yeah, that would be a great fight right there. I mean, I can't remember last time you had two Filipino guys, you know, that are considered amongst the best in their division, you know, match them up. That'd be a great fight. I mean, you'd have half the Philippines for Donaire, you know, you'd have probably the Filipino Americans for Donaire, and all the Filipino will obviously be for Casamero.
Okay, so I got to ask.
Great fight.
Okay, so I got to ask your guys' wives, who would be going for what?
They don't care.
They don't care. My wife's
his wife might.
My wife's a Nonito Donaire fan. She likes the Filipino Flash.
Good.
But the thing is that there's some other interesting bouts. I know that they were already talking about, because originally Oubaali was supposed to be looking at fighting against Jason Maloney. Now with this situation with Donaire winning the title, that would be an interesting matchup too. Seeing Maloney against Donaire, that'd be a great one, you know. So he's another guy who's really good in that division. So, but hats off to Nonito Donaire, man. The Filipino Flash is back.
Yeah. Champion again, and with that, you know, with his reemergence as being a world champion again, I mean, the pressure's kind of on him. It's like, man, you know, he's already rededicated himself to the sport, but now the pressure's on. Now people are going to expect so much out of him now, you know, and I think part of the pressure got to him a little bit in or maybe you want to call it like leg 1 of his career, you know. Now we're in leg 2, leg 1. Now he's got his second win. The pressure, I think he'll be able to handle it better, but people are expecting big things out of him, bigger things out of him.
I think with his experience and whatnot, he'd probably, like you said, handle this much better than before.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Hey, why don't we jump over to the DAZN card, Mike, and let's go down a couple notches and let's talk about that's kind of a little bit close to us and stuff. Shane Mosley losing a disputed decision to Jason Quigley.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this, man. I just, you know, you want to root for that way. You want to root for Shane. I do root for him because he's a local kid, and I remember meeting him when he was like 5 and 6 years old, and running him in. I ran into him here a couple of years ago. He lives very close to me, and I mean, he's a good kid, and you're just like, man, you know, people expect a lot out of him because he carries that Mosley name. You know, he's a junior. In my opinion, Shane's problem is that he got involved in boxing on a full-time level just a little bit late. And he's kind of been learning on the job still to this day. I mean, he's tough. Don't get me wrong. He's got the pedigree. He's got the genetics. He's tough. You know, and even in the fights that he's lost, they've been close, tough fights, and he's never really been out of them.
I actually thought he won the fight. I had him. I scored him winning the fight. I think it was the referee was once again, another situation where the referee was just giving way too much opportunities to Jason Quigley, who honestly didn't impress me at all. Quigley was just there to be hit. You know, Mosley was doing all the right things. Right away, when Mosley was getting successful to work in the body, what he's done, and we did like he did in his previous bout, the referee was warning Mosley for low blows and changed his whole entire strategy, hoping not to lose that point. His corner was even telling him, you don't want to lose that point because the fight was a little close in their eyes and stuff too. But there was nothing low as far as what Shane was doing compared to what Quigley was doing. So you saw right from the get-go that they had a little bit of an issue. I don't know what the issues with his dad or him, but it was kind of sad for Shane to have to deal with that, you know?
Well, yeah, whenever you got a referee that's just, you know, unnecessarily putting that fear in you, psychologically, you just go, well, I'm just going to stop going to the body, you know, and that's a big part of boxing is the body attack.
I don't think this loss hurts Shane Mosley in any way, shape, or form, to be honest with you, because a lot of people I think are going to feel Shane won this fight. If Shane would have turned on the gas, I think he gassed a little bit towards the end, but, you know, you look at the punch output and, you know, you look at the guys in the division where they're at, you know, it's a talented division. So you really don't know where they're going to really fit in. Yeah. But let's be honest, Shane's marketability is so much more than Quigley. Quigley's really going to go nowhere. He'll be an opponent for either a guy coming up or a guy stepping down. That's about it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had, I'm looking at my, my scorecard here. So I actually scored it 97-93 for Mosley.
Yeah, I had Mosley winning too. I don't even know what the judges were watching.
What
at that
the hell
time.
were they looking at?
Well, this was Matchroom. This, you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't real impressed. I want to be honest with you. I wasn't real impressed with the entire DAZN card. That's why I think we could just jump right into the main event, because obviously we got a lot to talk about with the main event.
Okay, that's good, but you know what? We got to say something about Cameron and Hernandez. Why the hell they even put Hernandez in there?
Who was it? I didn't even watch. I know
it was the girls. The
girl.
Terrible fight.
Yeah, the girl from the UK. She's a good fighter, but the girl.
But you got somebody Hernandez who hadn't fought in like what 4 years or something like that. Some crazy.
She's another one of those. I'm sorry.
40
Eddie
47
Hearn.
years old.
I'm gonna make this fighter seem like she's something more than she is. She has very limited skill. She's okay, whatever. Like this, she's fighting against, you know, a girl who just got off the couch and finished her Budweiser beer and decided to fight.
And that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it looked like.
No,
that's exactly what it looked like. A
girl was fighting two weights out of her division.
Beer and walked in and said, "Oh, fight."
Yeah.
Yeah. So what weight was it? Is this girl, this UK girl, is she somebody that could be matched up later with Katie Taylor? Is that why Eddie Hearn is giving her the shine? Are they in the similar division?
Well, they're fighting at super lightweight.
So she could fight Katie Taylor then.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is, guys. He's just building her up as an opponent for Katie Taylor.
Yeah. Okay.
He's got it, and it's a domestic level fight. I mean, it's a fight that he could take in the UK because they're both from the UK. Ireland versus England. You know, because Katie Taylor's Irish, right? She's from Ireland.
Yes.
Like Cork, Ireland, or something. Yeah. I mean, you can't blame him. He's just, you know, he's doing what he can do. He's going to try to build this girl up. She seems, she's likable. She talks well. She's respectable. She reminds me of Savannah Marshall. Nowhere near as tough, but you know, she's like a Savannah Marshall. They just, you know, I saw a lot of the pre-fight interviews with her, and she just, you know, just there to do a job. You know,
I personally, I thought it was just, you know.
Yeah, the girl was overmatched. Yeah.
So so overmatched. Yeah.
Well,
that first round, I was actually surprised that she made it out of the first round.
You're going to find that a lot though in the women's fighting, and I don't want to sound, you know, sexist or misogynistic, but there's not a lot of talent.
Slim pickings, man. There's slim pickings
there's
out
slim
there.
pickings. There's not a. If you look at the total amount of fighters that fight, you know, in these certain divisions, I think you know. Some of the divisions they're barely in double digits for actual like legitimate fighters, you know.
Okay, so what you're telling me right now is that I should like start training Allie.
Yeah, train something. Yeah, there ain't a whole lot in there, Dad.
That is one tough girl. She will kick somebody's ass.
Well, that's like when you what's her name? The one girl, the black girl, the boxer.
Shields.
Clarissa Shields. That's why you got people like Clarissa Shields trying to get people like Leilani Ali, who's now a mom and has kids. And I think one of her daughters actually has even got a kid that's even going to make her a grandma, trying to lure her to come back because there's such slim pickings in the division. You have to go that route just to make a marketable fight, something that's actually people are going to want to watch because,
there's
just not a lot out there.
Yeah. Maybe I should start training Allie then. I mean, hell, the girl's got a heavy bag in her room for crying out
women's
loud.
boxing, I think, it's got about as much future as men's water volleyball. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That girl's got a hell of a punch already, though. So
if Clarissa Shields wants to establish herself as a household name, which she's trying to do, and she's been unsuccessful for several years, the only fight out there to make is Savannah Marshall, because the UK, she will get the exposure. She doesn't want anything to do with Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall will knock her out. Savannah Marshall will knock her out. She'll knock her out. The girl's got amazing ability. She's got a punch. She's knocked out most of her opponents. Clarissa Shields has 2 KOs on her records, and neither one of them the girls ever hit the ground. They were premature stoppages by the ref. She packs 0 power.
Well, that's it's funny you should say that, because I remember when they were trying to pump up Clarissa Shields in her last fight, they were talking about how they couldn't get sparring partners. So Clarissa was sparring some of the men inside there, knocking them out. I'm like, you can't knock out the women or getting in there. How are you knocking out the men, man? Come on. It's like, oh, bullshit.
It's all nonsense.
But yeah, that was about, I mean, every other fight on the card was just kind of, but it made up for a decent main event.
I tell you what, I have not been overly thrilled with the cards that Matchroom's put on. I mean, a couple of weeks ago we had Canelo fight, which was a good fight in its own right, but the undercard was pretty atrocious. There was nothing exciting about the undercard at all.
Yep.
And that's the thing, I hear people and I see people talking about Eddie Hearn's going to take over. It's like, not putting on cards like that. You're not.
Nope.
A lot of people got buyer's remorse after watching, and the main event was decent enough. What was it, a barn burner? No. Was it a fight that's memorable? No. You'll forget about it by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the main event. Haney and Linares. What do you guys take?
I kind of expected Haney to win the decision. I did. I expected Haney to win. I thought Linares would give him a tough fight, and at times he did. But then at times, he's older now. At times you kind of thinking, why is this guy not pulling the trigger? Why is this, because you can't. It had nothing to do with the speed of Haney, because in his career, Linares has seen guys faster than Haney and more crafty than Haney. But Linares, he got him at the right time. Linares was there to be the name on their resume. Yeah. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Eric, you want to go ahead and give me your take, and then I go last?
Yeah. You know what? I thought Haney was dirty. I mean, he fought dirty. He was holding and holding and holding. Every time Linares would actually give him something that had a little punch, all of a sudden he's grabbing on and he's holding on. And it's like, come on, man.
And
get
what
out
makes
there
me sick?
And fight.
Huh? What really makes me sick is when I peruse some of the boxing forums and I hear people talk, and people who were so against Josh Taylor are so quick to talk about, well, Josh Taylor, he held. They're the same people that will then turn and credit Haney for fighting a masterful fight or whatever. And Josh Taylor did not hold excessively in that fight last week. He held a couple times, as you should, if you're maybe a little gassed, whatever. But Haney was clearly holding on for survival.
It was ridiculous how many times Haney was holding on for survival. I was just like watching. I was yelling at the damn screen. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And the ref, come on.
Well, that's Russell Mora.
Oh my God,
Russell Mora. I mean,
he's atrocious.
I think
almost as bad as that woman ref that was in the gosh, what was the we were just talking about it.
You talking about a fight?
Yeah. What we were just talking about, Gary.
Oh no, you're talking about the Broner fight.
Gary. Whatever.
Gary Russell.
Gary Russell's fight. That they had that female ref. Long black hair.
She's atrocious. Atrocious.
Yeah, horrible, dude.
She has no business. What? She has no business refereeing a fight.
How do you say stop instead of break?
She's atrocious. She belongs nowhere.
What the hell is she doing? She should not be there in the boxing ring.
She's garbage. She's straight garbage. I know who you're talking about. She refereed one of Renee's fights. His last fight. where he got headbutt
Horrible.
like 5 times. Never even
that's
gave the
right.
guy a warning.
Yeah, yeah.
Always out of position.
Horrible.
Always out of position. Doesn't know how to say the word break. First off, just absolutely horrible. But
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
she's incompetent at
Yes.
best. That's the best way to
It
describe
started,
her.
it started becoming a bit of a trend right now in boxing with a lot of these refs that are just, you're seeing the downside of it. Seems almost kind of like they've all went to the Lawrence Cole school of refereeing and stuff. Cause I mean, it's getting worse and worse. Russell Moore at one point was a decent ref. He's gotten really, really bad. I mean, and a few others and stuff like that, but
no, he hasn't gotten really bad. He's gotten very corrupt.
yeah, you could see right from the get go that
He's been corrupt for years.
Yeah,
No, I know.
He's the one. He's the one that.
It gets worse and worse and
No,
worse.
he actually was worse 5 years ago when he allowed what's his name to hit Lomachenko 50 plus times below the belt.
Oh yeah,
Orlando Salido, and never even gave him a warning. He gave him a warning, maybe a little half-ass warning once or twice. Never took a point. Never even threatened to take a point. Eric, if you go back and watch that, that'll make you throw up.
What is it? Which one?
Orlando Salido against Vasily Lomachenko.
And don't forget, he allowed Abner Mares to annihilate Joseph Agbeko's.
Oh my God, yeah.
Carriage. Go look at those two
They
fights.
still talk about that fight.
And then he's actually gotten better since then.
All right,
and he's still horrible. So what does that tell you? He was
text me that so I can go back and watch it. Text it to me.
Oh my God. All you got to do is type in worst referees boxing ever. And I guarantee you he's going to be in the top 5. Him, Lawrence Cole, the guy from the UK, maybe Howard Foster from the UK, the guy from Canada. Yeah.
So
tell us a little bit about what you thought. What did you see in that fight, AJ?
You know, it pretty much played out the way I thought it was. I was as impressive as people were trying to say because Linares was keeping himself competitive. Linares should have been more than competitive. Linares had opportunities. He had openings. Yeah. I was calling it from the 3rd round, and I'm not trying to say that I'm, Nostradamus or anything like this, but the simple tools that Linares possessed, for some reason, he vacated them, just left them at home, and it didn't make any sense. And then when he started letting those things go, is when he was being effective. One of them being his uppercut, which hurt Haney, later in the fight. Sergio Morris said it several times, and I agreed with him, that short right hand. For some reason, he kept trying to counter. I understand the jab. What better way to take away a jab than to throw a straight right hand, followed by a jab to the body, then followed by a right hand? That's how you take away a fast jab.
Yeah, you make them think about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're going to stand there, but what really, really bothered me was when Linares had Haney on Queer Street at the end of the 10th round, going into the 11th round, and you thought to yourself, okay, Linares, here's your opportunity.
Throw caution to the wind.
You even did the little shimmy where you told, almost like assisting him to his bench because you knew he was hurt, and you came out
flat,
just not, and allowing Haney, you're the physically bigger guy, to hold you, almost kind of like this was a script that was written. It's like you could do this much, Jorge, but you can't do this. And I'm not saying that there's any setup in it, but something just didn't sit right with me because I've seen Linares in so many fights, 20 plus fights I've watched this guy. He's a killer. He hurts somebody, he's going to go for the blood. For some reason, it wasn't the fact that it was 12 rounds. Linares can do that. For some reason, he wasn't going after Haney. Haney never hurt Linares. Linares was never shook. People could talk about Linares has got, a weak chin. Well, that just shows you that Haney doesn't really carry a lot of power. But Linares still had the power. And Haney held on for dear life. But once again, Russell Moore, no warnings to Haney, singled out Linares. Shame on boxing, and shame on DAZN, and shame on Russell Moore, dude.
On top of that, it absolutely flabbergasted me that Haney gets there for the post fight. Oh, I was never hurt. I was never this. I was never that.
Typical. That's typical boxing today, bro.
SOB.
Instead of giving proper credit to the guy, you know what I mean, to your opponent. So yeah, he caught me with a good shot. Yeah, he rocked me for a second. It doesn't diminish what you've accomplished. It doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you're being real. So,
well, unfortunately, we live in a world where guys like Errol Spence and guys like Lomachenko who are honest, and guys like Sean Porter, you don't have those. You have more of the Teofimos and Haney. Don't get me wrong. Haney's probably a good kid outside of the ring. Mike told me about a sentimental moment that happened afterwards. I found that my new thing that I do now is after I'm done watching a fight, my emotions are at a high, especially if I don't agree with how things are turning out. I don't watch the post fight. I go back and I watch it later on when I'm cooler mind and I could see it. So I went back and I watched because I already knew what Haney was going to come out of his mouth. Without me even watching it, I knew he was going to say that he wasn't hurt. It was an easy night for him. No, it wasn't. And the world knows that because every single sports writer out there, even guys like Dan Raphael and everybody, talked about, Haney and the fact that he was wobbled here. The memes that are out there. It doesn't mean that it grants opportunities for guys like Teofimo Lopez and all these other ones, because let's be honest, Jorge Linares is still a relevant fighter at the lightweight division.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the good part of it is Haney did do some good things. He did get in there and engage. He did fight. Unfortunately, he also showed that when he kind of did really get into that dogfight, he got shook up.
Oh,
and I'll be honest with you, that was nowhere near the right hand that Linares landed on Lomachenko. And he had Haney walking back to the corner.
He stumbled back like he was going to fall forward.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. He was like,
looked like he just stumbled out of the Temple Bar on St. Patrick's Day. He was all.
But I remember something. We were at that restaurant that one time, bro, for a fight we're going to watch. And I think the sheriff had Rene Moreno, who you said he had sparred Haney. He had told me something. He told me that Haney doesn't take a good punch.
Mm-mm.
And it's kind of
especially to the body, which is I wish Linares would have went more to the body.
Which is weird because against Lomachenko, he never threw that jab to the body. He just changed so many. I'm so tired. I don't know if it was his training camp, his trainers, or him personally. Why do people change what has been so successful for so long? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
But overall,
but here's the thing. Jorge put a good account of himself. He maybe he followed the script. If we want to go down that road, he'll get himself another fight. He'll have another fight.
Here's what I think. I think instead of this 12-round max, I think we need to go to 13 rounds, because had it gone 13 rounds, it might have been a whole different ball game, quite honestly, with this fight.
Well, why they went to 12 rounds, bro. You know why
so they could make the draws.
Because, of course, back in the days of the 15-round fights, you never had draws in big fights. Yeah. Somebody won. Yeah. It might not have been the guy that actually won the fight.
Also, it's kind of a safety thing too, because that's when a lot of guys started dying in the ring too.
But what's wrong with 13? 13's a good number anyway.
It's a bad number. It's a bad luck number.
I love 13. That's my favorite number.
The scores were not that bad.
The scores were close. The scores had 115, 112, 116. That's a close fight. That's an 8-round to 4-round kind of fight right there.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to when you look at the idiot from the Zone and Chris Maddox, who I believe had it like 118. The guy, okay, this is another thing.
Why does he have a job?
It drives me nuts because
why does he even have a job? I don't understand that.
Well, I could question all Eddie Hearn's moves within the Zone. Why does he have that? Barack and that other guy does a boxing show. Neither one of them have any kind of a ring IQ. They fumble people's names. They're one-side opinionated. They don't understand boxing because they've never boxed. Chris Maddox is another guy who's never boxed. That's why I see guys like, I give more credit to guys like Max Kellerman and some of these other fighters, even a guy like Sergio Mora, because he actually fought for a living. I'm not saying you got to be a boxer to be a great commentator. Al Bernstein was a great commentator before he ended up selling out to Showtime.
Yeah, he's totally sold out, though.
Jim Lampley, as much as, you didn't always agree with him, he had his good moments and stuff. You had guys like Larry Merchant and other ones. But this new generation, guys like Chris Maddox, are just driving me nuts because the way they talk, there's not an opinion there. They're speaking fact. And when you speak fact, you've had to live it. And to live it, you had been in the ring. So he just needs to shut up, because I think he's about this close to Sergio knocking him out, dude.
Yeah, he doesn't belong anywhere near a boxing event. He should be covering, I don't care what he covers.
Soccer. He should be covering
something. But like I said, when I see guys like that, and here's the thing. They toe the company line. They're given a script to follow, and they don't have the integrity to speak the truth.
Yeah.
So they're horrible. To me, they're no better than an ambulance chasing an attorney.
You have to.
Very true.
These promotions that are out there, I talked to you about it earlier. Showtime has been pumping up this thing with this Mayweather-Paul fight, which I can give a rat's ass about. But the thing that was ironic to me, through all of this promotional and all these so-called, boxing historians that are part of the Showtime boxing history,
I'll be right
at the end, they got Paul's name wrong. They called it Logan Paul, not Jake Paul. And I'm thinking to myself, like, That's the same thing that's going on with the zone.
No. Jake Paul is the other brother that just fought. Logan is the guy that's fighting. So they had it backwards, or what?
I don't know. The thing that gets me, like I was saying, if the zone was serious about wanting to attract true boxing enthusiasts, let's be honest. The people that are casual boxing fans are only going to wait for the big events that the zone throws at you, the Canelos and the Triple Gs. They're not going to watch these other ones.
Yeah.
So in order to get that, you need to attract a crowd. You need to attract the people by the masses and even get the casual fans to understand. That's where you get guys on there that does a boxing show that actually understand boxing, that can show both sides and not be completely one-sided. I look at the two guys that host their boxing show as guys that go to a Slipknot concert and really never went to a Slipknot concert, don't even own but one album, and you ask them what's their favorite 3 songs, and they can only tell you the popular ones. That's how they are. Outside of Mayweather, Canelo, Andre Ward, T-Bud, these guys, they don't know these other guys. They don't. They don't.
These guys show up for the main event and then leave. They don't watch the undercards. They don't know anything about these undercards.
My point is, how do you build up these future cards if you're not building up the fighters that set the blocks up to that main event? Meaning
building blocks for the main event.
This event could have been a better fight if you had guys out there that were actually talking about the card and the fighters that were fighting beneath, and not the ones that came in on the limo, got the big checks, and then went out. You know?
Eddie Hearn is he needs to
got to
revamp.
make a change, man.
He
really does.
I actually don't mind the guy. There's times where Sergio Mora drives me nuts, and there's times where he says something that actually makes sense, but at no point do the other guys ever make any sense.
No.
None of them ever make any sense. Showtime's the same way. Bernstein makes 0 sense now. Showtime Sean Porter, when he does a guest spot on the he's good. I like Porter's good. Obviously, we know Paulie Malignaggi is the best guy out there.
Best,
but he's unavailable now because of some comments he made. He got canceled. But
we talked about it too. Who was a fighter that just fought recently? Andrade. As much as you don't like him, I think Andre would be an amazing boxing host analyst. After his boxing career, he's got a great personality. He knows. He
actually does. He's actually very well spoken. He comes from a little bit of I don't know what you call it, maybe a little bit out there angle, but he's actually, when he's sat in on 1 or 2 cards,
he does great.
He does a good job. Obviously, he's his fighting career, he's still very much in the thick of things. He's not ready to give up. But if a guy like Sean Porter can spend as much time, behind the microphone, and he's still an active fighter, I think they should think about that. Maybe get rid of Chris Mannix. I mean, he has no business being there.
Well, I just think it hurts boxing, bro. It's no different than with this Mayweather.
He's got no credibility. Credibility.
Because you look at any sport. Okay, I don't know what the gentleman's name was that used to do the baseball one for all those years, but like with the Dodgers, what was his name?
Vince Scully.
Vince Scully.
Yeah.
So if you took a guy that had no baseball experience, whether or not he played or not, but let's say he covered, I don't know, women's soccer, and you put him there, you wouldn't capture the hardcore and the casual fans would be like, dude, why am I listening to this guy? He doesn't even understand the freaking game.
He doesn't know what he's seeing. No,
exactly. And that's what happens with Mannix. Mannix is so focused on the name and not the abilities or what the other fighter has accomplished to be here. He doesn't even know anything about Linares other than the fact who Linares has lost to. He doesn't know who Linares beat or what he had to go through in order to get to this. The fact that he fought so many years under a great trainer in Japan with Tekken. He doesn't know any of this stuff.
No,
That's where Eddie's hurting DAZN. He has to get a group of guys in there that understand the game, not just fight time. You need the pre-fight. It's promotion, Eddie.
You know what? I truly think, and I hope anyway, that people like Eddie Hearn will hear this.
He never will.
He never will.
I'm but you know what? In a perfect world, I would love for him to be able to actually hear this.
He hears it, bro. If all he has to do is open the papers and read the comments, we're not the only guys out there bashing Chris Mannix. But like I said, they don't care. He doesn't want an objective guy there. He wants a guy there telling a story, and that's exactly what he does. He wants to sway opinion of the people that are watching it that maybe kind of don't really understand how a round is scored, what constitutes a knockdown, what constitutes a 10-8 round, a 10-7 round, a 10-10 round, which we hardly ever see.
So what you're saying is that he wants Democrats. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
in a way, but it's still different than what Top Rank does with Andre Ward and with Timothy Bradley. You got two yes guys. I mean, come on. You got Tim Bradley, who was, I'm not gonna say a great champion, but a formidable champion in his time, wearing T Bud Sting and looking like a groupie outside of a freaking, Judas Priest concert.
And then
dude, come on, man.
You know what T Bud's latest claim to fame or his latest campaign is trying to get Canelo to call out Andre Ward. That's punching down. Why would Canelo, who fights at 168, call out a guy who's been retired for 3 or 4 years now? Why would he call out an Andre Ward? Why would you do that? What does that do for your career?
Nothing.
If he thinks Andre's so big and bad, let Andre come back to the sport and challenge Archer Beterbiev. Let him fight Joe Smith, any formidable guy at 175.
He won't. He won't. We know it. You know it.
But that's the jealousy that Bradley has of Canelo, right? Yeah. He's so jealous of Canelo that he's the number one guy in the division, or not in the sport, not the division, in the sport. He's the number one guy in the sport. Canelo doesn't even pay him any mind.
Canelo's at a different level. Andre Ward, be it that he's not embarrassing himself like Floyd Mayweather is. I'm sitting here watching, see where Floyd's showing all of his toys and all of his riches and talking about this. I said, you know what? I really don't care, dude. I'm not even going to give you any time. As far as I'm concerned, you ruined your legacy. If Andre Ward wants to come back and do this, but let's be honest, Andre Ward had no interest in giving Sergey Kovalev a rematch until Kovalev started running into legal.
Of course.
Rumors of him having personal issues. Then it came the time. Hey, Sergey's out there getting drunk, beating women and doing stupid shit. Get this guy now. He's not focused.
It's very simple. Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward have something very, very distinct in common. Both of their biggest wins in their careers were not wins.
No.
Bradley did not beat Pacquiao and Ward did not beat Kovalev. And they know it.
They know
and
it.
Anybody who's got any credibility in boxing knows that. Yep. It doesn't matter. It's not even what I think. That's a fact. If you go back and you watch those fights and you score those fights, the most surprised guys in the entire building after those scorecards were read were Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward. It's very simple.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's the one thing that they share in common. And that's why I think they're both bad. They're bad for boxing. They're too involved. They're too much like Sergio Mora will at times talk about, when I fought this, or if I did, a body shot's always kind of warm me out. But Timothy Bradley, even more so than Andre Ward, Andre at times can keep it very, very professional, but Timothy Bradley too much tries to, when I fought this and I did this and I did, it's like, man, like you're yesterday's news, man. Nobody cares. Nobody remembers. He's most known for ripping off Manny Pacquiao in a fight and almost getting knocked out by Ruslan Provodnikov.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. He's a hell of a nice guy, though. I've met Bradley a couple times. Hell of a nice guy. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Super nice guy. But like I said, I think he's bad.
He's a guy. He's a guy that was just fortunate because, I mean, even with the, if you go back and you look at it in reality, he didn't beat Juan Manuel Marquez in that fight. He definitely didn't beat Manny Pacquiao, and didn't beat Diego Chavez when he got gifted that draw. That was 3 straight losses in a row in my book.
He beat Marquez. He did beat Marquez. Just could not pull the trigger in that fight. That's the one fight I will say that I will give him credit. He actually won that fight, but Marquez was not a welterweight.
No.
What would that fight? They fought at a catch weight of 140 something.
I think so.
142 or something. Marquez should have been fighting at that weight. He just was not big enough for that weight. But he did. I mean, prior to that, his best win was over Devin Alexander. Remember when they were both undefeated and they matched up head to head? And I actually gave them both credit. And he beat Devin Alexander. He beat him convincingly, but he didn't beat Manny Pacquiao. I don't think he beat Ruslan Provodnikov. Provodnikov won that fight.
Yeah,
but he was gifted that decision, and that's when I think the writing was on the wall. Hey, it's time for me to hang it up, and he hung it up after that fight. Am I right? That was his last fight.
Well,
I think so.
Against who?
Provodnikov.
Yeah, I believe it. No. Timothy Bradley's last fight was his loss to Manny Pacquiao.
Oh, so okay. After Provodnikov, he lost to Manny Pacquiao.
Because remember, he fought Manny Pacquiao 3 times. He won 1 and he lost 2.
Yeah, the third one, I mean, I don't.
The third one, he was thoroughly dominated. That fight should have never taken place. But
speaking of Pacquiao, his next fight, when is he fighting? He's fighting soon, right?
He's fighting in August. August.
Errol Spence Jr.
August 14th, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a good fight.
Okay. What the hell's going on, dude? So I'm planning this big shindig for my birthday, you know, and I find out that the Tyson Fury Wilder
your 52nd birthday?
Hold on. You're not supposed to talk like that, okay? I got endorsements out there.
53rd?
So, look at so I'm trying to plan this cool thing like we did in Temecula years ago with all the boys and the family, the wives, everything, and I find out that the Joshua Tyson Fury fight's gonna be on my birthday. So I go, I gotta scratch that because we gotta be there for that. Then I feel that fight's off, so I start making plans again. And then I find out that they put the Errol Spence Benny Pacquiao fight on my birthday. I'm like, God dang it, dude! It's just not meant to be, man.
And Fury and Wilder are gonna fight July 24th in Vegas.
Oh,
yeah, the Joshua Fury fight's off, bro.
It's off.
It's off.
I didn't know that.
They knew it was all a game. They knew that Wilder. In fact, apparently they're saying that the arbitration was already done.
Tyson Fury already knew about it, bro.
It was all a game. It was all a game.
But it's okay because it sets up an interesting matchup now with Joshua with Alexander Usyk, and
for the WBO title.
Don't get me wrong. I think Alexander Usyk is a phenomenal talent, but
he's just not big enough.
He's gonna have to figure out how he's gonna deal with the sheer size because this is a fight where Anthony Joshua can use his boxing skills and not have to worry about the punch because Usyk doesn't bring that kind of power to the heavyweight division. So he's not going to have to be so defensive minded. He can be more offensive minded. And Anthony Joshua in his own right is a very good boxer. Maybe not at the level of Usyk, but at 250 some pounds, it's going to be a different story. I just don't see how Usyk's going to do this. He's going to have to really figure out how to maneuver Joshua.
Well, what's a shame about Usyk is it's not his fault. He was just born the size he is.
Yeah.
And he fought in the division. I mean, in my opinion, I think he's the best cruiserweight that I've ever seen. And I'd say even better than Evander Holyfield because what he did and how we unified in the few amount of fights that he has, almost kind of like what Josh Taylor just did. I think it's never going to be duplicated.
I could see that,
but he's just not big enough to fight these big heavyweights. If there was if they created that super heavyweight division that they were talking about, what they're talking about bridger weight. It's now in between cruiser and heavyweight. It's called bridger weight. That the idea hasn't caught on yet, but that's where he is. 220.
Yeah.
Between but they create a division like that. You got a whole division full of butter beans, and do you really want that? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really make sense.
You're talking butter bean. What are you talking? I'm 231, dude.
I think what's hurt Usyk is he hasn't, with exception to the one fight he had against the big one he had
Chisora. He just beat Chisora.
Yeah, he hasn't had those marquee cruiserweight battles like they had back in the days with guys like Dwight Muhammad Qawi, Matthew San Muhammad. It wasn't those.
Well,
it's so good at what he does.
Well, yeah, he thoroughly dominated Gassiev.
And there's really hasn't been any money in the cruiserweight division for years. So anybody was good, even guys like Mike Hunter and others, ventured up to the heavyweight division, or even guys that were good at the light heavyweight bypassed cruiserweight to go to the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so your dream fight for this next, this next go round, basically, for heavyweight, and who do you see?
What are you talking about?
Heavyweight.
What the dream fight?
Heavyweight.
Oh, you mean who you'd like to see?
Your dream, yeah. Who you would like to see? Fury versus who?
You know what I would actually like to see? I would like to see Luis Ortiz fight Andy Ruiz, and that's not for a title. That's a fight that that fight intrigues me more right now than any fight out there because Andy Ruiz is coming off this. He gets a lot of praise and this and that, and you got Ortiz there saying, "Let's do it." That's a fight that could be a really, really good fight.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, just real
more
quick.
Competitive fight than I think someone like I don't know. I mean, the big fights, the big one everybody's talking about, Tyson and Joshua, is not going to happen for a while. They're talking about maybe not even now till 2022, and at that point, it gets past its expiration date, and I just don't care anymore.
Yeah,
I get to a point where I don't care anymore.
Well, I think the thing is a lot of people are overlooking too is everybody's so focused on Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's got to get past Deontay Wilder. Don't get me wrong. He thoroughly dominated Wilder in the last fight. But anything could happen when you got a punch like Deontay Wilder. And believe me, if Wilder, I don't see him making the same mistake twice as far as what he did in the ring. If he goes out there and has the same game plan, allows himself to get bullied and pushed and hit with these sloppy punches from long range from Tyson Fury, then shame on him. He should have never been there. Then he wasted everybody's time.
So let me ask, who else in the heavyweight division has a shot?
There's nobody really in the heavyweight. I mean, it's thinned out so bad.
It's very thin, right?
Yeah. There's just not a lot of people out there.
There's just not. There's not. I mean, there's a significant drop off between the top 4 or 5 guys and the second tier. There just really is. I mean, the Joseph Parkers, the F.A. Jogbas, they're good fighters. Joe Joyce, I think, is a good, really, really good fighter, a great fighter. But I just still think he's a little bit below those guys. I mean, not even a little bit. He's, just.
I'd love to see Joe Joyce against Andy Reese. I think Joe Joyce takes Andy Reese to school. That's me personally.
I do too. I'm actually really disappointed that Joe Joyce. I mean, I heard he just has his next fight scheduled finally, but Daniel Dubois is fighting next. He's fighting next week, and he lost to Joyce. I don't know what's going on with whoever's promoting Joyce. I know it's Frank Warren. Queensberry has him now, and he's just not getting the fights on the frequency he should, because he's coming off of a big win against who was considered the #1 prospect at heavyweight, knocking everybody out, thoroughly dominated him and made him quit. So Joyce needs to fight, man. And Joyce is not a young guy. Joyce is already in his early 30s. What is he, 32, 33 years old? Yeah. He needs to get on the ball, man.
Well, like I said, I mean, I'm interested to see what's going to happen in this third, because this is going to be a defining match for both Tyson Fury and for Deontay Wilder. This is going to be an opportunity for Deontay Wilder to kind of erase a little bit of that bad memory, what happened in that last fight. And most of all, the first fight, when you're gifted an opportunity, but for some reason Tyson Fury was able to find the gods and the angels to get him off the ground. But I've watched that knockdown several times. It wasn't a great right hand by Deontay Wilder. It was a bit off, to be honest with you. Deontay hopefully is putting together.
It wasn't even on the chin. It wasn't on the chin. It was on the head. Yeah.
So if Deontay Wilder hopefully is getting himself where he needs to be, he looks serious supposedly and stuff. I know there's a lot of goof around. Don't get me wrong. I know Tyson Fury's taking it seriously and stuff too, but I think Tyson's coming in. He's going to come in a little bit more arrogant. I think he's going to think Deontay can't hurt me. I'm going to be able to do exactly what I did last time, and we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? But I think this is going to be a different outcome. As far as I don't see Tyson Fury stopping him, but you never know.
I just want to say something about Fury. I absolutely cannot stand this guy anymore.
You got to love the Gypsy King, man.
No,
I like Tyson. I think Tyson's great for boxing. He actually said something last week at the Josh Taylor fight. He says, if it wasn't for me, this is the heavyweight division. Nobody would even talk about it. They talk about it.
He's full of shit.
He's saying the way he talks and the way he's flashy and
he's a little too. I know where Eric you're going with this, bro. He's really full of himself. He really is, and I understand that. He's and it does kind of get a little old. This arrogant thing about him, because
it's under your skin.
Well, I was a little insulted by his comments on Anthony Joshua, calling Joshua and Wilder bums and how knocked. It's like, dude, they're not bums, bro. You've yet to face Joshua. You got your fight against Wilder, but you got another one coming up. That shit can change.
He's basically trying to be the gypsy version of Muhammad Ali. Well, that's what he's doing.
I look at it this way. You know what? Anybody that's gonna risk their life, quite honestly, to get in the ring, you got to give them some respect. And yeah, you're right.
A lot of it's just smoke and mirrors, though. A lot of it is smoke and mirrors.
It's just talk, man. Tyson Fury's a very humble guy, but he's doing a great job of selling these fights. You can't take that away from him.
But the one thing, though, Mike, I do believe that Tyson believes that Deontay Wilder is not a threat in any way, shape, or form. I do believe that he thinks that he's going to beat Wilder even easier this time based on his last performance.
That's a mistake.
That's a huge mistake, because Deontay Wilder, we don't know how Deontay is going to come back, because he's never suffered a loss in the pros. So we don't know what kind of Deontay we're going to look at. Fighters come back sometimes not so good after a loss. Sometimes they come back much better because they know.
I think if Malik Scott is smart, and I see the footage of them training, whatever, looks like he has a ring set up in a backyard somewhere, like out maybe in where he's from, Tuscaloosa.
Like where we lived.
If he is smart, he will basically say, we need to go out there and we need to take the fight to this guy and not retreat, not one step back. Because the minute you relent and you give up the ground, the positioning, Tyson Fury is going to have his way with you. He's got to meet him in the halfway in the ring and never take a step back and literally go out there and just go for broke. That's his only chance of beating Tyson Fury.
He's got to do something that Jorge Linares has done successfully so many times, but for some reason decided not to do it last night. And that is the long left jab to the body, followed by the overhand by the right hand. That'll work against a guy like Tyson Fury, something that Wilder wasn't doing. He was head hunting and trying to hook him. Long jab to the body, right hand. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Tyson Fury's there to be hit. He's not very elusive. You know what I'm saying?
True.
He's susceptible to uppercuts and a lot of things. But the problem is Deontay Wilder got squared up. He got wild. And Tyson Fury wasn't stupid. He was like, okay, I'm going to let this idiot swing wild. I'm going to wait for him, and I'm going to look where he's going to come up, and boom, I'm going to hit him. It wasn't real hard.
Yeah,
So
it didn't have to
be
be because the sheer weight on 270, the night of the fight, he's just a physically big guy.
Yeah.
Hopefully Deontay, they're doing something to really strengthen his lower body, because the balance and the off balance, and that really comes from your center of gravity, from your waist down. And from the videos I've seen,
I don't know where he gets the punching
thin.
power, to be honest with you, because
I
that
don't
usually comes
either.
from it's something freakish on that part. It's like this.
Yeah,
but it
with
is
the
what it
balance and the strength, he needs to do something to strengthen his legs so he can stand his ground.
Yeah.
Well, that and the fact, I just think it starts with Deontay. How much does he really want this fight? I mean, obviously he does. He didn't have to take this fight.
No.
He could have went after a Derek Chisora. He could have went after Dillian White. He could have made a ton of money. But he
could have fought Andy Reese and made a ton of money. He could,
Yeah. And that's an easy fight. I think that's an easy fight for Deontay Wilder.
Oh yeah.
Based off of,
Yeah.
But
he could have fought a Joseph Parker maybe or something, which is, yeah.
Yeah, especially off of Joseph Parker's last fight. So real quick, Mike, let's talk about some upcoming fights coming up.
Yeah, I got about 5 minutes, guys. We're already 6.
Yeah.
The only fights coming up this week that I care to talk about is no, that's a few weeks away. That's 3 weeks away. John Pascal tested positive for PEDs. The fight with Badu Jack is off. Now they're looking for a replacement opponent for Badu Jack for the fight that takes place Sunday. That card Sunday. Yeah.
He got tested for what?
PEDs. Steroids, performance-enhancing drugs. So John Pascal's out. He's out of the fight. Now, sadly, bad. I feel so bad for Badu Jack. He's just one of the good guys in the sport. He cannot catch a break, man.
No, he can't.
He's been on the bad end of some bad decisions. He got the massive gash against who did he get that gash against?
That was against man, I know his name. I can't think of it right now. But that guy ended up losing his next fight, so against Pascal, which was really amazing to me. But Badu Jack's one of those guys. And I'll be honest with you, Badu Jack in his last fight, he looked really good.
He fought at cruiserweight his last fight. He fought like 195 pounds.
So strong. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but we got some other big fights coming up. Obviously, we'll talk about that more on
Jared Hurd fights is coming Sunday as well.
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting fight for Jared Hurd. Now, is that fight going to be fought at 160 or is it going to be fought at
154?
Which really surprises me that Jared Hurd's staying at 154, because I think that had a lot to do with his loss to J-Rock. Was the fact that I think he's struggling. I know he says he doesn't struggle, but he's got to be struggling to make that weight.
He's got to be. He's so physically big. He's fighting Luis Arias, 18-2. Vidal Riley's on that card. But like I said, the Badu Jack fight is pending now. They're They're finding an opponent. 175 pounder. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I won't even. There's a Triller fight card happening on. No, not Triller. I'm sorry, the Showtime one happening with Floyd Mayweather fighting a YouTube nerd. I'm not going to waste my time talking about that. That's nonsense.
So real quick, while I'm pulling something up here. I don't know if you heard the statements. I had posted it to our Facebook that were made by Jamel Charlo about Tim Tszyu.
Yeah. That's just cowardice.
So do you want to kind of like elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. He's a coward. To dismiss Tim Tszyu at this stage in his career, Tim Tszyu is the mandatory for the winner of this fight. It's very simple. You don't want to fight the guy? Fine. Vacate the title. Tim will be happy to fight anybody for that belt. Yeah. Tim Tszyu is the mandatory for one of those straps.
I didn't understand his argument, to be honest with you, because I didn't understand what he was trying to base it on.
He basically said, well, he basically doesn't feel that Tim's at that level. That's fine. You could think that. That's fine. If he's so easy, take the fucking easy $10 million and do the fight.
Yeah.
Because Jamel Charlo doesn't make $10 million a fight.
No.
He's made nowhere near that. He's made nowhere near half that for a fight. I guarantee you.
Well, the reason I brought this up, bro, was because this is what I'm trying to express to people that are out there, especially the casual boxing fans, that only seem to see the one side of people's discussions. Tim Tszyu is obviously a young up-and-coming fighter. Jamel Charlo's been in the division a bit longer and stuff like this, a more established name. when a guy like Tim Tszyu, who's coming in with the kind of a promotional push that's coming in based on, you know, his past performances, why would you dismiss a person when you're about to make your highest payday against a person you feel doesn't belong in the ring with you, should be an easy walk in the park? When a person dismisses that kind of money and that kind of that opportunity,
it's fear.
It doesn't make any sense other than the fact that his trainer, his dad, whoever's in there, say, "Hey man," it was kind of like that thing, like when Apollo Creed's trainer told him during the fight, you know, I don't want you. Who's this guy? The Italian side. Oh, he's a lefty. I don't want you messing with no lefties. That's what it comes down to. He's like probably telling him, "There's something in this kid I see. You're a bit wild. You get a little reckless. This kid's patient. He hits hard. He's accurate. Those might be your kryptonite, Jamel." You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I mean, he just disposed of Dennis Hogan easier than his big brother did. He disposed of Jeff Horn easier than Terrence Crawford did. To dismiss the guy is not really like you couldn't beat the guys that you beat. Well, that shows ignorance to me. It shows fear and ignorance. Yeah, that's all it shows.
And that's what I'm saying. And you get these other guys that are talking about boxing, and they side with Charlo. They're like, well, kind of like, oh, it's an insult for him to have to step down to Tim Tszyu's level. It's like, what level are you talking about? In the fact the guy's a lineage from a great father, what he's accomplished already, what he's setting out to accomplish at this point, he's daring to be great.
Look at it's very simple. He's selling out 30,000 seat stadiums in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Charlos could give away 30,000 seats and half the people wouldn't show up. And they're good young fighters. Both Charlo brothers are good, strong fighters. But let's be very honest with you. If anything resembling $10 million was thrown at you, and if you thought it was easy work, take the money and run. But he knows he's trying to convince everybody with braggadocio, but he doesn't believe it himself.
I don't think he's gonna get over on his promotion though, because I'm gonna be honest with you. They're looking at this right now very seriously, and they're saying this is a very marketable fight based on just who Tim Tszyu is, who his father is, what he's already accomplished, the fact he's undefeated. You know, he's kind of the new in something being injected into the division, and Charles needed a test for a while. He hasn't been tested in quite a while.
He's going to get tested against Castano because Castano's a tough kid. Castano's going to come forward. He's going to come. I mean, that fight could get interesting. I favor Charlo in that fight, but
that's the thing is I look at too. If Charlo doesn't get past Castano, these talks with Tim Tszyu are irrelevant because I'll guarantee you, Castano will take on Tszyu. He'll make that fight happen.
He's not afraid to fight anybody. That guy.
I would favorite Tszyu in that fight.
Yeah, he fought Lara, he fought Teixeira, now he's fighting Charlo. You got to give the kid credit.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think that's about it, my brothers. What do you say?
Yeah, we're good. I got some paperwork to do.
What is that, Eric? What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
It's just a
cigar.
No, it's I 3D model. I make the things for my escape room.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
We've just so you guys, Enter the Ring fans are going to be the first, basically, to know. In November, we are doing 2 new rooms.
Awesome.
Okay, the first room is going to be Goonies based. It's going to be called Willie's Revenge. It's
nice.
Completely based off the Goonies franchise, basically.
You're not going to get sued on, are you?
No. It's not going to be Goonies. It's going to be Willie's Revenge. Okay. So anyway, it's going to be amazing. And the other one is going to be called The Holy Grail. And it's going to be Indiana Jones.
Nice. I like that. Dude.
Oh yeah.
We're going to have 2 amazing rooms.
Yeah. Those are 2 movies that have huge, especially because you're up there in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Where Goonies was
Astoria, where Goonies is from. Yeah.
That's going to
So we're going to have some amazing rooms, and I've already acquired the centerpiece for behind where Willie is going to be sitting, because we're doing the full-blown actual anatomic skeletons, the whole work. So it's amazing. But I acquired this really cool, it's from Spain, and it's this huge shield with these 2 rapier swords in it. It's just amazing.
That's awesome, dude.
When you say Willie's, I keep thinking of the movie that Colt makes me watch all the time, Willie's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, man. Willie's Wonderland, dude. It's amazing. Nicolas Cage doesn't say a word the entire movie. It's amazing, dude.
Willie's what is it?
Willie's Wonderland. It's where he gets locked in. Just watch it. He ends up killing a bunch of animatronic, like going to Chuck E. Cheese, and Chuck E. Cheese attacks you. Dude, go watch it. It's amazing. Willie's Wonderland.
Right on. All right, fellas.
We out.
Hey, thanks for everybody tuning in, man. Don't forget to join us again on Tuesday. 6 p.m. start time on Tuesday?
6 p.m.
We'll dive into a little bit more about the upcoming fights. Hopefully, by that time, we'll have more on the opponent selection for Badu Jack, because I would hate that he went through entire camp and wasn't able to fight. So we'll see you guys this coming Tuesday. That will be June the 1st.
Maybe you can get one of the guys from the gym. Maybe somebody come on our show.
Yeah, for sure. That's my niece's birthday.
Yeah, that's my daughter's birthday. Yeah, June the 1st.
June the 1st.
Happy birthday, Lana.
Happy birthday, Lana.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget, this coming Tuesday, 6 o'clock on the West Coast, 9 o'clock Eastern. Tune in, subscribe, tell all your friends, your family, help us spread the word, talk with us, chat with us, have fun with us. That's for all of us. And Enter the Ring, Mighty Mike.
AJ Rage.
And Eric the Red.